I grew up in a Christian family in Kerala, India, being raised by parents and grandparents who for generations had been Christians. Prayer and family prayer and church had been a very integral part of my life. Everybody gathered in the family room. Everybody had a role to play. The kids will collect the prayer book and the hymn book and the Bible and distribute it to whoever was supposed to read their part. Sundays were non-optional. We lived in a small 1 mile radius, sort of like an island place. So everybody could walk to the church. We went to church, Sunday school, and then the parents and everybody else would join in for the service. And that's where we kind of learned about the church family. The church is just the building, and the people are what makes a church. And they took care of each other, not just the church community, but they addressed people with needs that are in the community that didn't have resources. So when we moved from India to Detroit first, we had a nice Indian community and an Indian church, but it was downtown Detroit, and we opted to go to an Episcopal Church close by in Detroit. And our kids were small, and we didn't get all that involved, but we went to worship. Then we moved to North Carolina in 1980 with an 6-year-old and a 6-month-old, and we visited many churches and eventually settled on Episcopal Church, St. Luke's in Durham. The first day we visited, Ann Hodges' couple was the priest, and she was pregnant. Her homily covered something about how she went to the seminary to become a priest, and one of her friends who had a special gift of being a gay man was kind of discriminated those days. That was the mid-80s. So when we left the church, we said, this is actually a good church to come to. This is an all-inclusive church. A female priest, to us those days were kind of a new thing, and a married priest, and a little different from what we are used to, and acceptance of people who are different from the mainstream. So that appealed to us, and we attended that service for from 80s to 95 when we moved to Cary. When we moved to Cary, we had some friends who lived there, distant relatives and friends actually from Kerala. They were already attending St. Paul's. So we had no reason to search for any church. So we decided to come. And immediately we realized that this is actually our church because of what it had to offer. What was the most appealing about this church is the inclusiveness, the open-mindedness, and also the outreach ministries. That's what I'm most impressed with. All the ministries that we do in taking care of people. We've got to have a place. We have got to have the resources to carry out the ministries that we offer. The services that the youth do is really more appealing to me than anything else, because in my field as a psychiatrist, many a times I would ask patients after I hear their stories, and I would say, you know what, you've had a rough life. You have a lot in your plate. Who's in your corner? Who's there for you? And it's not at all uncommon for me to hear them say, me, myself, and I. And I would ask them, do you have a church family? Do you have a family? Well, the answer would be no. And I feel like that is such an important part of one's being, to have that spiritual connection. And for this church to encourage the youth and the children from a young age to be involved and to nurture that kind of spirituality will go a long way to produce healthy adults. So I'm more than willing to support anything that will promote that kind of an active involvement by the children and youth